In this video, I'd like to talk about the present moment and what instructions we can use to go out and bring about the here and the now. My favourite, and I think the most widely used way of introducing the here and the now, the present moment, is to use this term, notice. What we're trying to do is to stop everything. The moment we notice, we're actually stopping all of our external thoughts and problems and difficulties in intruding. We're noticing what is happening in the here and the now. The easiest way to go out and do that is trying to find notice and then present moment. So we're noticing the present moment, and those things that are happening in the present moment are the easiest way to capture that. So if I said, what can I notice right here, right now in terms of feelings, I can feel the ring on my hand. If I consider what can I notice? I can smell. I can smell cologne. If I consider what is it that I can taste, I can taste coffee. There's a coffee sensation there. And if I said, what can I hear? I can faintly hear the air conditioning. And so there's all these things that are occurring, and they immediately bring me to the here and the now, those things that are happening in my environment or inside me right now. And so it's very, very, very powerful. It's a very powerful tool to use. So all we need to do is introduce notice, and then we put the present moment and any of those five senses. So we just say notice X, and X might be notice what you can see, notice what you can hear, notice what you can smell, notice what you can touch, and notice which one have I left out, and taste. And notice what you can taste. In actual fact, there are other things we can notice as well. We can notice thoughts, we can notice images, and so on that are happening in the right here, right now, because there is a stream of thought that's occurring. So it could be thoughts that are coming up or images that are coming up. So that's notice X. It's very, very, very quick to go out and use within therapy. And in actual fact, it's something that I use with my clients. So an example might be with a client that's having difficulty expressing themselves because they're overwhelmed. I might just go out and say, could we just pause for a moment? And if I could ask you to just notice what you can feel. Now, I wouldn't just leave it open. I need to give them a little bit more instruction to help them out at the beginning. So I might say, you might be able to feel your feet in your shoes. And so generally they'll move their attention into their feet in their shoes. And I might say, you might notice your back resting into the chair. And so they start noticing their back resting into the chair. And then I might say, you might notice your breathing coming in at the moment and starting to come out. And I'll just watch their stomach and I'll be able to guide them in that. I could also then ask them to notice one thing that they can hear. And they might say, well, I can hear traffic outside. I might say, can you notice something in the room that you can see? And they might say, the whiteboard or the table. I would extend that a little bit more and get them to be a little bit more focused and say, well, what part of the whiteboard or what part of the table? And they might say, well, there's actually a shiny edge on the corner of the whiteboard. Or they might say, there's a wood grain and I can see that there's a darker part in the table. And so they're starting to notice more and more detail. It's really becoming quite mindful. So noticing X, which is what we can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch, we're trying to go out and find that space to just ground. It's a grounding exercise. So we can do that at any time. I seem to find that it's useful when someone's quite aroused. It's very difficult to work with a client when they're aroused, they're quite emotional. And so we just dip into a little bit of present moment work, and then we go back out and do some diffusion, or go back out and do some self as context, or go out and do some values work, or whatever it might be at the time. So we can just dip back in, and we can do that at any time. If we look at the present moment, it actually underpins all other 5 processes around the hexaflex. It underpins it because to have a presence of mind, to be noticing, is to be aware, is to be grounded, is to focus, is to have attention, is to have intent. And so whenever we go out and do some grounding work, it allows for some strong therapeutic work to occur afterwards. I, in actual fact, would like to encourage you to potentially do just some very short mindfulness exercises to begin with your clients, and it could be at the start of a session, in the middle of a session. If you find the client getting highly aroused, we can go out and do that. And there's some really nice work that we can do if we're doing some systematic desensitization, where we get a client to step forward towards something that's uncomfortable, and then we just do some grounding work. We do some present moment work. Then we ask them to step into discomfort again, and then do some grounding work. And we ask them to do that over and over again, giving them that grounding, that safe space. So notice X, what you can see here, smell, taste and touch, is very useful, and I encourage you to use that more often. Hope to see you next time. Cheers.